All right, welcome back to another video. So we've got the two cars behind us and spot the difference, you reckon, eh?
Well, they pretty much look identical.
They do, so...
No, they don't.
They don't look identical to each other, no.
But if you follow the channel quite regularly, you'll notice that these two cars don't really look too much different, right?
No, they've not got new wheels or anything on them, right? So it's really subtle, the change. What we've done on these cars recently is taken them up to Tint Lab here in Auckland and had them tinted, obviously. It's what you do at Tint Lab.
Yeah. So, I guess we initially went to Tint Lab and we got some shots of Seth actually putting the tint on. We spoke to him about the tints and things like that, but Glenn's accidentally deleted the footage, and so we have no footage of this.
That's correct. So I'm really sorry, Seth, for not having any shots of your workmanship, because we really wanted to showcase the workmanship side of this, right? Anyone can go get tints. There's so many shops who do it. The reason why we chose Tint Lab, I guess one of the reasons, was the attention to detail and just the way he goes about the craft, right?
So Seth, before he starts a job, he sort of lines the indoor, the panels with plastic and stuff, and that's basically just to look after the door panels, and also that stops like water and stuff dripping on them. So that's exactly why we chose him, because his craftsmanship is good, and really we liked what he did, you know, on Instagram and the things we looked at, and also the eye for detail. So this is not a tint that's just on a printout, or
it's not a template, right?
Not runs off a template. Yep. He basically cuts the strip of tint to a certain size, lays it on the window, and then he freehands around the window and around the edges.
It was awesome to watch the way he worked with it. And we didn't go to Tint Lab because they had a particular tint type we wanted either, right? We went for the workmanship, and it just happened that that Seth offers some of 3M's tints. Yeah. And the tint we went with on both of these vehicles was 3M Ceramic IR, yep, which is his flagship tint that he offers.
And the reason why we chose the Ceramic IR is because it's got almost 100%, well not quite 100%, but close to that with the UV rejection.
Yep.
So that's going to prevent the sunlight and UV getting inside the car and damaging the dash and the trim and stuff like that. And also it's supposed to, as a result of that, it's supposed to keep the car temperature nice and cool, right? Yeah,
so I think one of the things to note, if you're looking at the cars behind us here and going, oh, they don't actually look that dark, is the tint laws here in New Zealand are pretty specific, right? So on a passenger vehicle like this, a sedan, a hatch, whatever you've got, 35% is the maximum, which is what we've gone with on these. You cannot tint the front windscreen. So if it comes with a factory tint in the glass, that's acceptable, but you can't go and overlay anything on the windscreen of these cars.
Yeah, so I'm sort of chasing this sort of thing now with the windscreen that has already got a tint or a UV rejection in it, because basically the most amount of sunlight comes in through the windscreen, and so that's what I want to reduce, because that's, you know, kind of finish the job. You almost sort of have to ask yourself, why do you tint your car when you've only done like most of it, and yet the part that comes through the windscreen is the part you haven't really blocked, and that's just based to the laws, right?
And that's the bit that's getting you with the most sun directly as well, right? So if you're thinking about, you know, if you're on a road trip and you get yourself burnt in there, that's on occasion. I've had that through the side window, but your front window is huge, right? Compared to the old,
and so that's why I'm after some factory glass that's going to prevent that. I don't know if you can actually buy that as an add-on, but that's something I'm chasing just to prevent that. Yep. And I suppose in contrast to that is the 3M Obsidian, right, which is another tint that Seth offers, although we have been on his website. He doesn't seem to offer that at the moment. I'm not sure why, but that sort of doesn't have as much UV protection or UV blocking in it.
It's the IR side of it, right?
And it's sort of got more of a black sort of look to the tint. And so this tint here has got sort of a blue hue to it, and I think fits a plain white car and looks really good on a blue car. But if you had bought a car that had sort of that factory tint already on it, then he sort of recommends that you go with more of the Obsidian to keep the look right. Yeah. Whereas if you had that sort of blue look on an already factory black looking tint, it might not look right. So that's why he sort of offers those two, or did offer those two.
Yes, if we had a red car, I probably wouldn't have gone with this tint.
Yeah.
But as you said, on blue, that blue tinge to it, and white.
And definitely the ceramic IR is definitely, if you can, the better option because of the UV blocking in it.
Yeah, and I think one of the important things to note there is, well, not important, but more interesting things to note is on the Tesla app, you can actually spot what the temperature of the interior of the vehicle is.
That's pretty cool.
And what I found before getting these tints done, that in the heat of summer here, now this is not scientific, right? It's a Tesla app and it's just my observations from it, was showing me about 47 to 48 degrees Celsius was the interior temperature. I find after getting these tints, that probably spikes now at probably about 44, 45 degrees maximum. So it's made a difference there. Again, it's not scientific, right? But we've pretty much had consistent heat. The days haven't been too different up until recently.
Yeah. So that kind of just sort of tells you a little bit that this is definitely blocking out some of that sunlight.
Yeah, and I mean, again, the front windscreen, right? If we had those done, we'd probably knock a couple more degrees off that and considerably improve the overall feel of the car.
And I've definitely noticed coming back from, you know, a day at work and stuff, the car is definitely cooler, and definitely on long trips where that sun is shining in on the sides and whatnot, your arm doesn't seem to get as burnt as it would if it was not tinted.
And then plus you've got the look of it, right? So I know we went to Tint Lab for 2 different reasons. I wanted the look of the tint. You went purely for the heat rejection.
Well, I've got nearly a 20-year-old car, so I want to preserve the interior. I want to preserve that trim. I don't want to get bubbles or anything like that in my dash. So it's very important that I maintain that. Whereas you've got a brand new car. Well, who really cares? These are dime a dozen. You can buy another one, right? Yeah.
And for me, it was just the look. I wanted to kind of de-nanify it a little bit and make it look a bit nicer. I think the flip though, right? I think that now I really appreciate the heat rejection from it. And looking at yours, I mean, I think it looks fantastic.
Yeah, so I kind of like that look now, and so the blue tinge and that slight. I don't think you want to go too much darker than this.
Oh, look, I mean, 20% might have been nice.
People will comment and they'll go, "Oh, why didn't you go darker? Why didn't you go darker? Darker looks cool."
Well, we went legal.
Yeah, well, we went legal, and also at night time, you can't see anything.
Yeah, 35% is quite comfortable at night, right? I've had no issues with visibility, but I could certainly see how if you went with a 20% or a 15%, and I've driven around cars in the past, you know, and here in New Zealand it's legal to have it on a van. You can have darker tints.
And I think on a ute you can have those back windows a bit darker.
and I've seen those at like 5%, and it is impossible to see out of those in the evening.
And it's like, well, who's in that car? Who's driving? It's sort of like, oh, okay. And also, what I also like is that the tints are the same all the way around. So you notice some cars at the back are darker and slightly lighter at the front, but I wanted that consistent look. Another Subi.
Ooh, you didn't give him the wave?
No, well that was a non-turbo model though.
Oh yeah, you only give the turbo wave.
Only give the Subi.
He's probably got like blow off valve of some sort though.
Probably. Triptronic, you know, where they
Triptronic, you know, where they let the foot off too to make it sound like they're driving the manual.
And it just sounds terrible. Yeah. I don't know if that was one of them, but anyway.
I used to have one of those.
So yeah, I like the uniform look. I definitely like it so that, you know, imagine if it was dark at the back and be like, oh, it doesn't quite look right. So
we've got these new vehicles, right? Brand new Range Rover. Comes out of the factory.
Yeah.
It's delivered, right?
Yeah.
You've got these 2 clear front windows and then these darker windows at the back, and then you go and tint it.
And then the back gets
even
darker.
Even darker, and the front's still not as dark. I think it's really nice to start with no tint all the way around.
Yeah.
The exception to that is the roof of the Tesla does have a tint to it, but it's the roof, right? It's harder to see. So I think the
you've only gone
nice.
part way up on your roof. Why did Seth only recommend you went part way up?
Yeah, so I don't think it was necessarily a recommendation from Seth. He does offer to do a full tint on the vehicle. That was an added extra. I went for the rear part of the window and all the sides, and one of the reasons why I didn't do the front as well is I'd read online about quite a few people having cracking issues after tinting it. Something about it retaining a lot of heat in the tint from that.
Well, that makes sense, right? It does kind of make sense.
And they were getting cracks.
Right.
And then the issue as well is I did want to go uniform all the way around, but if I got a crack in that windscreen, we're 3 hours from Auckland here. Oof. Probably the waiting time to get a windscreen on that. Right. I don't think it's quite as easy as driving into Smith & Smith and getting a new replacement. So it was kind of figuring out how much.
That's a bit of a smart move.
How much I was willing to risk not having the vehicle while I'd underwent a repair. And look, I could drive out of here tonight and I could get a stone chip and it may be the same result, right? But that's the way I weighed that up.
And so just if you want to go to Tint Lab and get Seth to put the tint on your car, he sort of blocks out one car for the whole day.
Yeah. And I think that's a really good way to get your car tinted because you know you're getting a good result from it because he's not going to rush.
Well, that's the whole idea, right, is that he wants to take his time. He wants to make sure that that tint is on there perfectly. He wants to make sure that his cuts are looking nice. He wants to make sure that you don't drive down the road after a couple-hour job and the bubbles, because then you have to come back, which is annoyance to the customer, it's annoyance to him, and you just want a good job. So he definitely books a day out. So if you're going to do it, take the whole day off. There's a shopping mall down the road, go and spend a bit of cash at there and
down Newmarket.
And he'll make sure that he looks after the car and does a really nice job. His craftsmanship is beautiful.
Oh, it was fantastic. I mean, some of the edges that we're showing you in some of the footage, it was really cool to see him actually do it live, but you look at the finished result as well and it's so clean. There's no jagged edges, everything looks really tidy, and it almost looks like there was a template, right?
Yeah.
I think that's probably what's cool is the fact that It looks like there's a template, but we know he free cut it,
Yeah.
which means you could take any type of vehicle to Seth, and he'd be able to make your tint look.
Yeah, he hasn't tucked it down under the, you know, where the door comes up to the window. He hasn't done a little sneaky cut on it. He hasn't folded it around the edge. He's literally cut it perfectly, and then we would have had some nice footage of him doing it, but he gets like a little craft knife out that's obviously pretty sharp, and he sort of shaves the edges and real meticulous on those edges, and it looks almost like it was meant to come with a vehicle, right?
Yeah. It did. We're going to get some more footage. Next time we take a vehicle, we'll definitely be taking it to Tint Lab again.
Yeah.
We'll make sure that we get some footage, and I won't delete it next time.
But as we sort of walk around the car, we'll take the camera and we'll walk around and maybe do some overlays. But you can see, specifically on my boot, you can see where the tint of the glass stops. You can see where the glass was not meant to be tinted, and then you can see where Seth's laid the tint.
It's probably the tidiest cut on your car. It looks really nice.
And you can see as he shapes around the boot there that it's perfect. Like there's a little slight slither of non-tinted glass, but that just shows you that the craftsmanship's really good. And to get this done, my car was not quite $1,000. Your car was not quite $1,000.
Yeah, it was $899 for me.
And so we paid for these ourselves. So this isn't paid sponsorship by Seth or anything like this. We took the cars, we paid for it, and so this is just exactly how we felt on the day, and this is exactly how we felt just being a customer of Seth's, basically.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you're interested in getting your car tinted, you're here anywhere in the North Island really, right? Because we travelled 3 hours to get to Seth. I'd recommend it. I'd definitely do it again.
Yeah.
Probably drive longer than that, to be honest, to know that we're getting that high quality workmanship, because we're on a bit of a pursuit, right? You're on the pursuit right now to find a wheel alignment spot that you can trust and you know they're going to do a good job. And I think we found that with Tint Lab for our vehicle tinting needs.
He's someone that I'd take the car back to again.
So probably a bit of a boring video to watch us talk through tints, but it would have been a lot more interesting had we not lost that footage from Tint Lab. So we'll definitely be back. We'll get another car done there at some point, and we'll take you guys through the process and actually show Seth's workmanship. But otherwise, thank you so much for watching this video. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, hit that like button down below, and we'll see you guys in the next video.
Yeah, and we'll keep chasing the guy with the perfect combo, all cars related, right?
And we'll share everything that we learn as we go along.
Yeah, thanks for watching.